Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Switch Show. My name is Maliseh Chinonye, and we're going to be talking about the illusion of comfort today. If this is your first time listening, hi, welcome. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for stopping by. I hope this is worth your time. And yeah, thank you for stopping by. If this is not your first time, if this is your second, third, or however many times you've been listening, you're an OG, you're part of the family, welcome. I really don't know what to call this community or this family. I keep on thinking switch fam, but I don't like the word fam. Is it just me? I don't know. The word fam is too excuse me, it's too abbreviated for its own good. So I do not really like the word fam. But anyway, welcome to the Switch Show family. Thank you for joining and thank you for being a part of this budding and growing community on this corner of the internet. And so yeah, if you will spare me 30 minutes or so of your time, we're going to have a riveting conversation and one that should leave you with answers to questions you didn't know you had, answers to questions you've always had, or questions that you've never asked. And it's always good to be curious because even though curiosity may have killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. So, yeah, thank you for stopping by. So today we're talking about the illusion of comfort, to discuss around the subject of comfort. We're all familiar with it. It has formed part of our daily routines, yet it is one of the most polarizing topics in the zeitgeist, and that is comfort. But what is comfort? Why is comfort such a bad thing or idea in today's world? What are the psychological implications of being overly comfortable? What is the comfort zone? All these are questions I hope to give answers to over the course of our discourse. All right. So the first thing I want to tackle is what comfort is. Before I do that, I want to read a Bible passage. For some reason, this Bible passage stuck out like a sore thumb when I was thinking of Bible passages to use for this topic. And it's from Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 10 through 11. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber and wait like an armed man. Why this um why this verse of scripture is so aggravating. Let me use the word aggravating. Why is this so aggravating to me? Is because it feels like it's attacking me personally. The first time I heard this, I just felt attacked. Like, what do you mean a little sleep, a little slumber? Because I love my sleep. I pride myself, or some people who have met me and who have interacted with me know that I pride myself in having a good night's sleep. So when billionaires and all these execs and higher ups talk about having 4 hours, 3 hours, at a maximum 6 hours of sleep, it does not make any sense to me. Because what do you mean you don't want to sleep good? A good sleep is equivalent to a good day. Many people who are cranky and go online and spew crap is because they don't sleep well. That's what I feel. But anyway, it says a little sleep, a little slumber, poverty will come upon you like a robber, like a thief in the night. Does that apply to the subject of comfort? Well, we'll discover together. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines comfort as a verb and as a noun. As a verb, it means to give strength and hope to ease the grief or trouble of someone. And to comfort someone. Someone is going through a hard time, someone is going through a breakup, the loss of a loved one, generally hard times. It means to give strength and hope to. So being around them, offering words of peace and prayers of peace and strength over them. That is what it means to give comfort to someone. Comfort as a verb. Then the one we are more familiar with is comfort as a noun. As a noun, it means consolation in the time of trouble or worry, something that brings you comfort, you know. So it could be music, it could be um how people come to meet somebody and be like, should I give you the good news or the bad news? I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? So bad news is, of course, a fat blow, and then to soften the blow, that's what the good news is supposed to be. So comfort is like good news when there is bad news. I It's a feeling of relief or encouragement, a contended well-being. The synonyms for the noun definition of comfort is accommodation, amenity, and I want you to take note of these two words: convenience and luxury. Convenience and luxury. Now, the word that is more synonymous when people have the discourse of comfort is convenience. So, you're doing something that is convenient, something that's not risky, something that is familiar. We also fail to realize that comfort is a luxury. So, as much as comfort can be seen as convenience, comfort is also a luxury. And there are some people that cannot afford comfort. Do you understand? So when people, or when we talk about comfort, like it's this easily accessible commodity, like it's available to everybody. Sure, it is. I can say it is. To a large extent, it is a widely available commodity, but it's also a very sought after luxury. Because think about it, you're fresh out of school, the university, you have no money in your bank accounts. Or let me say, I am fresh out of school, I have no money in my bank account, I'm trying to make ends meet, I'm taking menial jobs, maybe minimum wage jobs, trying to put two and two together. I start a business, the business turns some profit, does well, and things go. There are some ups, there are some upsides, there are crazy downsides. Everything goes back and forth. There's this insane, almost vicious cycle of profits and losses, and I keep on expanding my expertise and everything. After all of that, if I can get to a certain place in my life where I can now afford to do the things that I've always dreamt of, maybe travel the world, see sights, be able to speak to people at conferences or something, be able to visit where I want to visit, fly my parents around the world, care for my family, give back to my community, serve in the church, all those things. I mean, you don't need money to serve in church anyway. There is an economics of service, but this is not the conversation. That's conversation for another day. What I'm saying is, when I'm able to do all those things, I have more or less given myself a comfortable life, and this is contextual. Comfortable in the sense that I can now afford those things that seem like a luxury. So, in that context, comfort is a luxury because I can now afford it. You know, Another example: if you grew up Nigerian, you know that it's not uncommon to wash your clothes, to do your laundry with your hands. So the first time I heard of the concept of a washing machine, my mind was blown because I'd only known about hand washing. Like, this isn't small kitchen rags or towels or light things like undergarments, underwears, singlets, tank tops, and all those little things that can easily be washed, like handkerchiefs and whatnot. I'm talking about full clothes, like a proper jalamia, a head to toe boo, a full set three-piece suit, that type of thing. You actually hand wash this thing. You understand that hand washing is really inconvenient. It's crazily inconvenient. And so If you have a washing machine, that's a comfortable life. That's comfort. So why is it that in today's world, comfort is synonymous to something parasitic, controversial, deteriorating, and downright villainous? Why? And that brings me to my second talking point, my second segment, if you will. Why is comfort so polarizing? And I wrote a little something, j- more like a thought. Hold on, let me flip to that real quick. All right. So in my little notes, my little journal, it's not a journal, more like a notebook. I said, comfort is a funny thing because the word makes the higher ups and motivational junkies quake in their boots. The question is, why? Comfort is synonymous to parasite or lazy to a lot of people. Again, why? Why does comfortable have to be synonymous to lazy? And I wrote down here two things, and I think I'm going to address some of these things in in a later segment, I think. Okay, two things. Comfort or being comfortable presupposes the arrival idea slash mentality. The second thing is being comfortable accompanies fear sometimes. And the second point, at least to me, is what precedes the psychology of the comfort zone. So, to the general populace, comfort is seen as this no fly zone. You know how when there is insurgency and war, maybe a war torn region, maybe there's a war torn region, or a place that is heavily insecure. They have national insecurities and everything. Some countries, in order to protect their citizens, tag those countries as no fly zones. Like, yo, don't fly to this place. And then not just war torn countries, there are some areas that are exclusive. And I know of Lionel Messi, the greatest footballer of all time. He has this house in Spain, and it's supposed to be this eco-friendly neighborhood. So in order to keep up with their identity of being this eco-friendly, and their policy and vision of being this eco-friendly neighborhood, they have to make sure that every carbon footprint is minimized. In fact, is disappeared. So carbon emissions from aeroplanes cannot even be allowed, no matter how high, no matter how many thousands of feet the airplane is in the air. So airplanes don't fly over his house or that area in Spain. So those places are seen as a no-fly zone. That is kind of the way that comfort is seen to people. And I said something that sometimes comfort accompanies fear, or being comfortable accompanies fear. The first thing I said was, being comfortable presupposes this arrival mentality. So it's like, I mean, I can understand human beings to a very large extent are logical creatures, and I think that is the only way we can. That is not the only, maybe not the only way, but the most, or one of the most crucial ways that we can actually make anything of repute in life, by being logical. So the natural outcome, or the logical outcome, of mixing red and blue is the color purple. However, whatever shade, or however much the amount of red to blue or blue to red is, you're going to get a certain shade of purple. All right. If you walked out in a thunderstorm and you held a lightning rod, the logical conclusion is that you're going to be struck by lightning because of the electronic charge. It pulls in the lightning from the atmosphere, so you're going to be struck by lightning. Similarly, there is this idea that comfort brings, that the natural order of things is that once you get something, once you get, say, or if I have $1 million, that means I am successful. Do you understand? Is that something that you grasp? Because I think I understand this in that way. When we talk about financial security, I think of it like this. Think about the richest people you know. I think one of the questions I ask myself is, why do these people still want to get more money? Bro, you're worth billions of dollars. And this is a net worth. So something that is net means there is a revenue and there's an expenditure. And then they did the math, and this is your net value, which off paper could be extremely ridiculously higher than what we are seeing, but on paper we are seeing like 100 billion. So why do you want more money? Why are you still investing in companies? Why are you still building Fortune 500 companies? Why are you still venturing, and why are you doing all these things? It's because success many times is premature. No matter the amount of money, or no matter the synonymous, I wanted to use synonymous in a way that sounded very, anyway, no matter the amount of value that has been penned to paper, success can sometimes be premature. And that is what comfort does not understand. Comfort does not understand that success can be premature. So any whiff of, or a semblance of what a successful life looks like, can presuppose this arrival mentality. Capiche? I hope that is clear. I hope I have explained what my idea is. I hope I've communicated my ideas properly. And the second thing I said is that comfort sometimes accompanies fear. And that, to me, at least to me, my opinion, is what empowers the psychology of comfort zones. And that is where that is our next talking point. You can't talk about the topic of comfort without talking about comfort zones. I think I've done an episode where I at least attempted to explain the concept of comfort zones and whatnot. Sorry, excuse me. Ooh, I don't know. I've been burping excessively. I don't know. I ate eba, then ate rice, which is not good because I've been trying to work out. I know they chop protein like that, just carb, carb, carb. Anyway, comfort zones, the head honcho of these conversations, the jewel atop of the crown of the issue. Comfort zones are not the icing or the cherry on the icing on the cake, or the icing on the cake. Comfort zones are the cherry, the icing, and the cake of the matter. So, what is a comfort zone? I'm gonna read to you guys. In psychology, the comfort zone is a mental space where our activities and behaviors are fit into a routine pattern that minimizes risk and stress. Now, I want you to pay attention to this line. While it reduces anxiety, it also limits growth. Think of, okay, sit on that for a bit. Whew. Think of a plant. I don't know if any of you did. So in Nigeria, we have agricultural science. I'm saying in Nigeria, I have a very wide Nigerian audience, but I have some audience that is not Nigerian. So you bear with me when Nigerian people, you bear with me when I say Nigeria. So in Nigeria, mm, we have this class in secondary school called agricultural science, and so they teach you the basics, very elementary stuff about agricultural science, soil textures, the loamy, the sandy, the clay, the humus soil. They teach you about horticulture, apiculture, and all those other things, everything that has to do with, they touch lightly on those things, but largely it's about agriculture. And there's a subject in agriculture that talks about nursery, planting seeds in a nursery and transplanting. So seeding and seed transplantation. All right. So when you plant a seed in a nursery, the purpose of that is to control to a large extent the growth of that seed. It's a controlled area. So think of yourself as a seed planted in a nursery, and that nursery could be your environment, it could be your household, the family you were born into, it could be, the routine that has dictated most of your life, regardless of what your personality type is, extrovert, introvert. That doesn't really matter in this place, because some people think that comfort zones are largely introverted, and that's not true. Comfort zones does is irrespective of no person is not irrespective of personality types or the MBTI scale. Anyway, think of yourself as that seedling planted in a nursery. And so when you start shooting, that means you've bored roots into the soil, you're tapping nutrients, and now there is a protrusion from that seed going upwards, cutting against gravity, and there is a stem, and now some leaves are emanating. Now, after a couple of weeks, there's a point where it's kept in a little flower vase, and then the maybe biodegradable vase, the plant is no longer fit for that vase, so it's transferred in its biodegradable form, put into another vase, something that is way bigger. Now, when it has been pruned and cut and snipped, and every other thing has been done to ensure its proper growth, now it has grown into this ginormous plant. Leaves and shoots and stems and stalks, everything is just everywhere. Now, the next logical conclusion would be to transfer this thing into a proper environment where it can blossom, where it can flourish. Now, if you leave that plant in its now, before the vase used to be very big for it, now it has overgrown the vase. If you leave it in that vase or in that flower pot, soon enough the roots are going to either burst through the pot, or they will shrivel up and the plant will die. Now, it's not as extreme with humans, so death in that case would be death to potential. And that's the illusory part of this. Stagnation feels safe, but it slowly kills potential because the brain prefers familiarity. But staying too long in that space creates complacency. So think of, still on the plant analogy. Now, one plant is kept inside the house where it gets minimal sunlight and just about enough water when the owner remembers to water the plant, and the other one is getting all the rich abundant sunlight. Sure, there are plants eating bugs and insects that come and nibble on its leaves and everything like that, but this thing is still thriving because, of course, the forces of nature are there to ensure that it produces food, and there is almost similar amount of care both for the inside plant and the outside plant. Now, the outside plant is going to grow so much and become so beautiful and so magnificent that the inside plant cannot help but envy, but it can't do anything because it's inside, and soon enough it's going to shrivel up and go. There's also this false safety net. Thinking about this plant analogy, if we bring it to us, there's this false safety net that we kind of create. Just because something feels predictable doesn't mean it's sustainable. Like our jobs, like our relationships, like our lives in general. Because you're like, okay, I know what happens next. I used to be very over calculative. I met someone that wasn't as meticulous as I was, and it threw me into a crazy cycle. And then I became very loose and go with the flow, and it was still bad. So there has to be a healthy balance. All right. Psychologists talk about something called a sweet spot. Talk about this sweet spot, and they call it optimal anxiety. It is a space just beyond the comfort zone where stress levels rise slightly, but not so much that they cause panic. So think of this progression. On the left, there's comfort zone. On the far left, comfort zone. Far right, panic zone. And smack dab in the middle is what you call the growth zone. And that is the place of optimal anxiety. You see, we can't, I don't want to keep on, I don't want to say you, we can't think that we can do life without risks. Risk aversion is the start of being overtly comfortable. So now you're asking me, or you're asking yourself, okay, so you just made a case or a defense for why comfort is the bad guy. But here's what I'll say. In my opinion, I don't think that comfort is the villain in our origin story as we want to make it out to be. Just like every other thing out in the world, it can be swung to absurd extremes. And I feel or I observe that many times we are often caught defending one extreme or the other. Either, oh, being too comfortable is this, or hey, you guys talking about not being comfortable. I'm working my butt off so I can have a comfortable life. The large reason why we put ourselves through discomfort is so that we can have a relatively comfortable life afterwards. And that's how it should be. So there needs to be a healthy balance. As with almost everything in this world, there needs to be balance. If you've watched Avatar The Last Airbender, they preach balance a lot. So there needs to be balance. You should seek a comfortable life, don't get me wrong. Having a comfortable life, being able to afford the things that you want, being able to get the best out of life should be one of your goals. But you can't make a comfortable life by making comfortable choices. You need to be able to discomfort yourself. Not so much that you have panic attacks or it throws you into this ridiculous frenzy, but just enough that it edges you out to be more than you are, and the more that you can be. Capiche? Thank you for listening, guys. Um, Thank you so much for listening. I am incredibly grateful for the love and the support and everything that you guys have been doing. One of the most uncomfortable things I've done was starting this podcast, and 5 years down the line, I am blessed and I'm grateful that I did. I'm thankful that I did, and I'm thankful for all the love and support I have received from wherever I've received it from, Nigeria and beyond. So yes, thank you guys so much. You people, the people who listen to this podcast will most likely be the first to know of many life updates until we start a YouTube channel or I start making daily vlogs or something. That is when other people will know, and you guys will know too if you jump on that bandwagon. Well, yeah, thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, please share, follow, like, subscribe. Do the needful. Big Kokwano. All right. Until next time, I'm Maliseh Chinonye. Flip the switch and illuminate. God bless you.